Hello, everybody. Why does it keep defaulting to that view? Um, I don't know what just happened, but I went live on TikTok at the same time as I went live on Twitch, and it deleted the background that I had lined up and replaced it with the like alleyway default image. So I'm currently trying to figure out how to fix that. Would either of you like to do a bit of an intro for us?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. We are going to spend the evening talking a little bit about Hank's video that he put out about pay on Twitch. We're going to talk a little bit about pay transparency. We will note a little bit about what your rights are around this because there's been a lot of anxiety. I am also live on TikTok. If anyone is hearing me on TikTok, come over to Twitch to get better sound quality because I know it has to be terrible. And that's the intro. I also can't turn my volume up any louder. That's fine.
Who needs
we're looking great this evening. Listen, I think it's okay to acknowledge that we're all like in a bit of like Hank putting out this video and suddenly someone with actual credibility saying, "Hey, the pay on TikTok is absolute trash," has made all of our lives much busier in the last couple of days. It's not bad. It's not bad, and I'm so glad people are talking about it. But it has meant that I'm just like burning the candle at both ends and checking my phone a lot during my workday, and then also now I'm behind on work tasks, and also I have 100 things going on this stupid little device that I keep next to me at every hour of every day.
Yeah, no, I am just constantly at all times, like part of my brain is just checking the TOCA email.
Yeah. Just gonna go see. Just touch it. If I touch it, it'll be okay. Oh, so yeah, we did not even agree on where we were going to start with this. Let's like up front start with, wow, that was a good video.
It was a really good video.
Thank you. I'm so happy someone finally actually side by side broke down what all of the payment systems look like in a very concise way, because that's what Hank does. That is what Hank has always been good at, is just going like, all right, here's 20 minutes. You now understand all three payment systems and how they're dealing with that. It's what I've needed for years.
Yeah, and like there's going to be a bit during this stream where we talk about some issues we have with one of the things Hank said. We want to be really clear. It's a fantastic video. Most of, I think, the criticism we're going to talk about comes down to Hank just not making a video about a thing that we would have liked him to have made a video about, and like one sentence that is not great. But yeah, we want to be really clear that we are pro Hank's point here. We are in support of pay equity for TikTokers.
It's mostly going to be us adding, I think, some much needed background information about some of those pay disparities, about some of what feeds into the systems that Hank was talking about that Hank did not address.
Yeah.
Right, because there are two kinds of problem you can talk about in terms of pay inequality on TikTok. One is inequitable pay for TikTokers compared to other social media platforms, and one is inequitable pay between TikTokers in the relative terms of TikTok's pay. And both of those issues are important, and we need to tackle both of them simultaneously. There's no solving one and then solving the other. Like neither can be on the back burner.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
yeah.
started.
Yeah. So
there's a lot to go through. Okay.
I will say, I think just to start, if you are in the Creator Fund and you haven't already, we do have a survey that we would love for you to take to give us some data. That we are aggregating the data. It won't show like who you are to anyone, But it is a good way for us to figure out just exactly what those disparities are and just exactly what's going on in terms of different communities and how they're getting paid.
And the thing I want to emphasize is that we literally do not have access to any identifying information about you. Every single line in there is just categorized by a number, and that's how I can reference specific entries. The demographic information is voluntary, but I would really love if you entered it. Out of, I think, 150 total surveys we've gotten back, which, by the way, wow, it's only been like 2 days. That's wild. In the sort of 150 or so that we've gotten back, only one person hasn't put in their demographic information. So I just want to like thank everyone who has sent that in and has been just really open. My personal favorite box is the one at the end where people talk about if they've been banned from the Creator Fund, because there's usually a note at the end of like, and it was bullshit. There's only a couple of them, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who has a sense of humor about all this shit still, because it does come through on the form, because there's a couple of fields you can fill in. And just like, it's nice to see that the community, even when we are suffering, is still having fun and talking to each other. So that's good. But we got 100, I think it's 150 now.
Nice.
Yeah, right. It was 100. It was just under 100 yesterday when I sent a ping out to the TOCA Discord, and now we're up. It was like we were 3 away, and then all of a sudden we were like at 115 because I pinged everyone.
Yeah.
The survey itself has kind of wildly been a decent reflection of the demographics of the US as a whole. I didn't think we were going to get such a representative sample in terms of race. The thing I will say is that queer people are overrepresented in the sample that we got. Shocker. Disabled people are also probably overrepresented. Another shocker for who's in TOCA. Biracial people are overrepresented, which was surprising and interesting. Asian and Hispanic people are underrepresented. So these are just like distributions that you need to keep in mind. Women are probably also overrepresented.
I do also want to say, in terms of people with disabilities being overrepresented in TOCA, that may be because people with disabilities being professional content creators are overrepresented, because professional content creator is one of the few kinds of jobs that are pretty accessible.
And this is the other thing, is because TikTok doesn't really put out any demographic information that's useful, we don't know if it's that like queer people are overrepresented on the platform. I feel like they probably are. But it might just be that I'm like fully entrenched in queer TikTok and I'm not leaving.
I feel like that's most of us.
That's most of us. But we know that there are like the men to woman ratio on TikTok is like 2 to 1. It's very heavily skewed toward women. Of course, TikTok does not allow you to say you are non-binary or allow you to write in your gender.
Move that way, since now we can put pronouns that are not strictly just I'm just
wild. Maybe they might change it. Maybe, perhaps.
Yeah. Mike, the demographic information that we get from TikTok are from like 4 individual accounts. We get demographic breakdowns of gender and nationality of our users. I don't think we get anything. We also get time of day that they use the app. And we don't have that in aggregate of like TikTok users in general. We just have it like relative to any particular account.
Yeah, that's it. And there's not really any way to weigh any of it against anyone else's data either. It's literally just those little pie charts that you see people use as like the butt end of several viral trends. That's really it.
And that makes a great segue into one of the first things we want to talk about, which is, can you share the information we're asking for? Is that against the rules?
Do you want, how strict an interpretation are we looking for here? So Being an independent
Cecelia, I want you to explain the general context.
Okay, so being a general contractor means that sometimes when you sign your contract, there will be some kind of clause in there that means it's a non-disclosure clause. So that means, unlike a regular employee, you are not protected by the same federal laws. And so you can't walk around being like, I earn this much. A regular employee could. So the agreement that we all signed to join the Creator Fund did include a non-disclosure clause. And it's a very broad non-disclosure clause. However,
it's unenforceable.
It is because people share private back-end information on TikTok all the time. It is literally the butt end of several viral trends. And also, Hank has a viral video of himself on his TikTok from May, I believe. It's got 5.4 million views, and it's just a screenshot of the money he earned in the Creator Fund, which is like explicitly part of the like, that's not public information, you can't share it. So what we've seen is that the clause is not enforced and probably mostly unenforceable. There are other clauses in there that I have way more like concerns about. So can you share this on TikTok? Technically, the answer is no. But should you share this on TikTok? Yeah. Especially if this is not, I'm never going to, I've said this like 100 times in the past couple of days. I'm never going to ask anyone to like put an essential income stream at risk. But if you are like me and you have a job and that's your full-time job and you don't need the 30 whole dollars that TikTok gives you, I'm not saying that's what's coming my way this month, but I feel like it might be the amount that's coming my way. So mad about it. If that money is not essential to you, consider what everyone could gain by just being open and honest and transparent and talking about the amount that you are making and how little that is compared to any other stream of revenue you might be getting. So keep it in mind. I don't want anyone to put themselves in a risky situation. We don't have a mutual aid fund. If we did, I would be screaming from the rooftops that everybody needs to do it. But if you want to share anonymously, again, put that in the survey.
And if you are not in the Creator Fund, but you know people who are, please feel free to send them the survey. In fact, we would love it if you would talk about it with all your friends so that they can also give it to people.
Just hand it out.
And if you like the idea of TOCA having a mutual aid fund, you should check out our Patreon, dropping the link in chat right now. We are not currently, I want to be clear here, we're not currently building a mutual aid fund, but like if we get to the point where that's a thing we're doing, this is going to be where we're getting that money. I want to be clear here that like if you put this money in right now, it's not going into a mutual aid fund. It's going into organizational overhead. But
we do have to pay people.
Yeah, that's the place where those goals would get hit.
Occasionally we have guests on the stream. We are a labor organization, therefore we pay those guests to be here.
And we are also hosting, in conjunction with Arizona State University, some talks at the last weekend in February and first weekend in March. All of those panelists that we are having talk will be paid for their time. So I'm getting distracted by this stupid comments. That's on their bullshit today. Proud of you. That was the smoothest segue we have ever done.
I'm proud of us.
Chef's kiss, professional content creators. So, so all of that being said, can you, should you, if you can, yes. Yeah. I would heavily encourage you.
And this sort of gets back to one of the things that we've been talking about as organizers in TOCA since the very beginning, which is we don't ever want to ask our members to do something that we don't, to take any risks if we don't have a reasonable like argument, if we don't have a decent reason to think that that risk could pay off. And that's the thing that we see a lot in online activism. We don't want to be asking our creators to do stuff where they are making themselves vulnerable and realistically the thing they're doing is not going to help.
And
but this is the thing that could help.
this is the good thing about this particular moment. There is a lot of motivation. This is starting to get wider coverage. My partner, who I had to explain Vlogbrothers to in a full hour-long info dump, just got a tweet on his Twitter timeline about Hank Green's video organically. So like it's spreading outside of just chronically online
it's
content creator people.
My brother is not online at all, and during our meeting yesterday, he texted me.
he texted me with like, "Hey, have you seen this Hank Green video?"
Buddy, I helped run a labor union for online creators. Yes, I've seen it.
All right.
Oh yes, I did drop everything the day that came out to watch it at 1.5 speed so that I could get through it before my next appointment.
I love the idea that I have to watch your things slower than you talk in order to like really absorb everything, and that you're watching similar stuff faster.
To be clear, Hank Green at 1.5 speed is not easy. That is a concentration task.
That's fast. That man knows how to compress information. He's been doing it for like 15 years.
Yeah.
Hank Green, like John and Hank Green are the reason people talk like that on the internet. Like they established that style by setting themselves a 4-minute maximum on their videos, establishing punishments for that, and then always writing 8-minute long scripts.
Listen, this is real life speech and debate, okay?
Michael, yes, Hank knows TOCA exists.
Yes, we do. Yeah, please. This is like my sincere wish is that y'all stop tagging TOCA passive aggressively in Hank's comments. Some of you are tagging us earnestly, and some of you are tagging us passive aggressively with like, "Hey Hank, people are already doing." Don't do that.
No, my favorite was,
don't be assholes.
It would be great if there was an organization like TOCA already doing this work. Oh.
By
favorite, we mean that's bad. Don't do it. This is not a nudge, wink. Don't do it. For real, don't do it.
Do I laugh? Of course I laugh. Should we? No. Not a good person.
It is better to have an amicable and or non-existent relationship with TikTok's uncle. Like you don't need animosity there.
No.
So next thing on the list, the next thing on the list probably comes back to all of the things Hank was right about.
Yeah.
So one of the things that he brought up that we've talked about before, I mean, like the main center point of his argument is, oh shit, the creator fund is a fixed amount of money, which is something we already knew. Like that's something that TikTok said when they first like published the press release about the creator fund. They've never announced any changes to that. And one of the things that there's a little bit more granular information than Hank got into is that, what was it, March of last year, the creator fund changed their admission requirements from 10,000 followers and 100,000 views. Is that it?
Yeah.
To 10,000 followers and 10,000 views.
Yes.
And when that happened, there is a very, like, extremely visible drop off in the amount of money people were making. Like, Cecelia, did you make a public TikTok about that?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't want to start talking about
my money. No. I plugged in my nice microphone and screamed into it for 3 solid minutes about the money that I earned. So I earned 2/3 of the amount of money that I was going to earn at all in 2021 in the first 3 months before that March creator fund like new admission period. The drop off is drastic. The average was $300 a month before. The average now is, I believe, $78, $79. Like that's wild. That's a wild difference. And if I had kept earning at the amount, like at the minimum amount that I was ever paid before, I I would have earned $1,000 more. If I just kept up with my average, I would have earned $2,000 more, which, like, that's not insignificant. My rent takes up half of my paycheck. Like, this is like,
never mind the revenue sharing, never mind the like YouTubers making at minimum 6 times more than TikTokers. If the creator funds, if the size of the fund had remained an arbitrary number and not a like value relative to ad revenue, if it had just scaled with the number of people in it, we'd all be making like 3 times as much money.
Yeah, it's always sort of roughly 3 times as much. Yeah. And again, I'm okay because I have a full-time job that I am able to do all of this other stuff alongside. Other people do not. For some people,
they are my full-time job,
full-time content creators, and this has been a drastic drop off.
TikTok is my full-time job, and this is my dinner tonight. It is raisins from the Survival Center.
Don't you do this to me. I will get out Venmo right now.
Like, I will grub up you food.
I will send it to your apartment. But this is like this. It's not like some abstract. So this is the thing that in that moment that frustrated me. For Hank, this is an abstract concept. For Hank, he jumped into the fund to see how it worked, earned $36,000, and then donated it all to charity, so he got a $36,000 tax write-off. There are people who cannot afford to live. And I feel like not saying anything about that, it didn't sit particularly well with me. And that is, I know that was not the kind of video he was making. I get it, but at the same time, I absolutely don't.
Yeah, no, I think Hank 100% like understands from an outside perspective that creators are suffering. The presence of that suffering isn't there in his video, and that's okay. Like, it doesn't really need to be, but like the way that Hank talks about it, it's like this difference was what made YouTubers able to thrive. Is like the thriving or absence of thriving is a different emotional experience, emotional topic than suffering or absence of suffering.
Yeah.
I mean, in layman's terms, he takes the human factor out of it when he talks about it in a lot of ways. Where he
and I do think that part of the reason that he does that is because he's trying to appeal to TikTok as a company.
And while I understand that, given the scope and realm of influence, when paired with the fact that he has built a platform on the idea that people matter, the idea that these kinds of nuanced topics matter, it is very frustrating to see a topic like this discussed without even giving a nod to those bits of information. It didn't have to be an in-depth, but the fact that it felt purposefully skipped over in some parts, and I think that's where we're struggling.
Yeah. That's what's been hard, and I think that's what people have been struggling with in general on TikTok. That's Jesus Christ. That's the people who are voicing discomfort about that.
Yeah, and I think that the truth is, like, from an optics perspective, it is a better sell. Like, it's a better argument to make that we deserve that money because we contribute value than the argument we should get that money because we suffer without it. Like, just in like the American political scene and like interfacing with a corporation, it's a better sell. But like from an organizing perspective, as organizers, we at TOCA need to be present with the pain of creators and the difficulty that people go through when they are doing a job with an unstable income that they can't rely on, and the tangible suffering entailed in the knowledge that when your workplace does better, you do worse.
Yeah. And there's a lot to be said for being the pragmatist in the room, and saying this is the argument that will make this particular corporation listen. I've been in union negotiations before, and sometimes you have to make those arguments that emotionally make you feel like shit, because it is the only one that the person across the table is going to hear. And so I want the reaction, the negative reactions have been warranted, but I do want people to keep in mind that like he's doing it because he thinks it's the most pragmatic thing to do. He's not doing it because he has ill intent.
No.
I have my like thoughts and feelings about going in as the pragmatist, and Micah, I have like the same feelings of like he could have just said one thing, but it's not bad intent. So I don't want people to be suddenly reading bad intent into kooky Uncle Hank. He is still kooky Uncle Hank, and he is genuinely trying to help. So I've seen a fair amount of cynicism of like Hank doesn't care about us. He cares deeply, actually. It's just like he's very caught up in how do I make this presentable for a corporation.
And I think also he's got like the level of power as a person where like if he personally sat down and spent time deliberately empathizing with everybody he could have a positive effect on, he would not have time to eat or go to the bathroom.
He wouldn't have time to just, be a person.
Yeah, like there is an extent to which just continuing to live your life when you have a certain amount of wealth and power entails a kind of callousness that like that's unavoidable. Like we have to permit people to be human.
Yeah. So there's that. The next bullet point on the list.
I think the next bullet point on the list is the things we didn't like.
Well, okay.
So
the part of the video that I think really actually caused a lot of the negative kind of pylon is where he said you can't say the algorithm isn't working. Because quite frankly, the amount of people who have been screaming about the issues with the algorithm over the past 2 years that we have existed is a lot. I think a lot is a fair.
I mean, the thing is, it's not just a matter of how many people are screaming. It's a matter of which people are screaming and what they are actually screaming about.
Yeah.
Because Hank does have a very solid point. And when he, like in the video, I was just rewatching it, he said that the phrase he uses is algorithm issues are mostly imagined. And the mostly there is important because the exception space carved out by that mostly is the area that we're concerned about and is the area we want to talk about. But we do also need to be present in the reality that the majority of people complaining about the algorithm are just upset that their content isn't succeeding, and nobody is entitled to their content succeeding.
I did I perhaps on my side account make a joke video where I captioned it white cosplayers busting out the same cosplay that they've done 10 videos in a row of, that every other cosplay TikToker has done a cosplay of in the past year, and it's just silence, and then they turn to the camera and say, is this systemic oppression? I want to I desperately want to like have a culture within TOCA and have a culture on TikTok in general where we are radically honest with ourselves. Sometimes I don't make good content. Sometimes I'm tired and I don't feel good. And I put
Yeah,
out
no,
a
my
trash
content
video.
my content has not been doing it as well for a while as it was when I first started my account. And there is a pretty unambiguous correlation between my content doing well and me actually scripting and recording whiteboard videos, because I have a content format that works really well that people like, and I don't always do it because it's really hard.
So hard. It's so hard.
But like, I cannot in good conscience say that the fluctuations in my account performance are due to algorithm issues. They are due to content issues.
Yeah.
And like, it's not impossible that the algorithm has a role in that, but like,
I mean,
that is never going, like, there's no scenario, there's no end game where that is a problem TikTok is interested in solving for us. Which is why we need to get back to that mostly and the space carved out by that mostly, because the remaining space is systemic oppression and marginalized identities. And in that, we see things like moderation standards applied inappropriately to different content. We see systemic, like organized dogpiling on the accounts of people of color, of queer people, of disabled people. And we see ways in which the way that the algorithm works, reinforcing forms of bigotry and radicalization that, like, TikTok, like, as a platform with an algorithm that influences the minds of its users, realistically speaking, TikTok has an obligation to be building in mechanisms to counter that radicalization cycle.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
those are the issues with the algorithm that we need to actually be paying attention to.
Yeah.
And I will note, like, one of the ones that I just said, I said is a moderation problem. And we are, I think we can reasonably sort of cop to the fact that we do sometimes kind of conflate algorithm problem and moderation problem. And Hank does in his video specify those as different things and says that the moderation issues are a serious issue that need to be addressed. But like, when we talk about algorithm problems, we can't ever be talking about individual creators getting more views, because that's never going to be the problem that we're talking. That's never going to be a real problem that TikTok will take seriously or that TikTok could take seriously.
No.
Like you kind of mentioned, the biggest issue in terms of the algorithm, it's not even necessarily the ones and zeros of what make the algorithm work so much as it is that there is no counterweight to deal with the human bias that is training that algorithm.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And we know for a fact that other companies have figured out how to counteract that bias because they've been sued over it.
Right. And to be clear, like, none of the counter mechanisms that people have come up with are perfect. There are always problems. No matter what TikTok does to try and counter bigotry, they will do it imperfectly. They will get called out for it. There will be people who are mad at them for not doing a good enough job. And we will be among those people because we will want to be pushing them to keep trying to do better. But the fact that you can never do something perfectly is not an excuse not to do it at all.
Correct.
Like, it's the like, you know, classic ADHD homework problem of like, well, it's too late for me to do a good enough job on this to get an A, so I may as well just blow off the whole paper. You know, like a 60 is the same as a 0. And like, if any corporation is going to present symptoms similar to ADHD, it's TikTok.
Not wrong.
Not wrong.
I can say that I have AutoR.
Michael, this is another thing that this is an individual. Okay, so because I'm an old crone who's been on social media of one kind or another professionally since I was 22 years old, I'm coming up on 10 years. The concept of a shadow ban is universal. It like applies across every single social media platform, and everyone always thinks they're shadow banned. I'm gonna put it out there. You're not. You're not. You're not. The way to get the whole thing about shadow banning is what that means is you specifically are being targeted. So you have to have caused a huge problem in order to be targeted. The only example I can think of off the top of my head where like, okay, this was maybe a real thing was Ziggy Tyler, whose account just got absolutely nuked after he figured out that he couldn't type into his creator fund bio, I am pro-Black or Black Lives Matter. And then he got interviewed by like CNN and Forbes.
I will note also, we currently have no particularly good reason to believe that TikTok has a shadow banning mechanism. Shadow banning is not just like when your stuff does poorly. Shadow banning is a specific mechanic that some websites have.
Yeah.
And what a shadow ban does is makes it so that you can continue interacting with the site, but your interactions do not appear for any other users. And the only thing we've seen on TikTok that like systemically resembles a shadow ban is AutoR. And to our knowledge, AutoR is a discontinued feature. And to our knowledge, there has not been a replacement. For folks who aren't familiar, AutoR was a tool that TikTok had that they would rank accounts by sort of like bullying risk is the way that they were putting it.
Yeah.
And if you were visibly queer, visibly disabled, you could be put in fat. You could be put in a high bullying risk category, which I believe was called Class 3 or Class 4, that would restrict your content to within the country it came from. And if you were like very visibly disabled, you could be put in a category called AutoR, which capped your views at a certain number and said that like after this number, this person's videos don't go out to more people. Like they don't go out on the following page, they don't go out on the For You page. The only way people are going to find this video is by navigating to your profile. And the German moderation team leaked the fact that policy existed. It was a very serious news story for TikTok, and they got rid of it and promised to never do it again. I
believe
we don't, to our knowledge, we don't have any particular reason to believe that that's not true.
Yeah.
Michael, it was just called AutoR. We don't have any more detail than that on why it was labeled that way.
If I had to guess, probably auto restrict, because that's what the program did. But like you said, and I believe it was October of 2020 is when that story broke, and they had claimed to have stopped using the feature about 3 months prior.
Correct.
I think it was October 2019.
It was 20.
Time is an illusion.
It was in fact 2019, and I think it might have actually been November.
Possibly. Time's an illusion. I've been on this godforsaken app since 2018.
Nothing's real. Yeah, it was. I think it was 2019. I didn't have as large a following as I have now, and a man decided to try to fight me about it. I remember it distinctly. I had to turn off my comments for a little while because there were a lot of people calling me a bad person for being like, you shouldn't ban people because they're fat. Anyway, I hate it here. I don't. I love it, but sometimes I hate it. So anyway, is real? Not really on TikTok. Not really.
It oftentimes people are using it incorrectly, and quite frankly, you probably should just wipe it from your vocabulary because the chances of you running into it are pretty much null. Like you can say you're experiencing suppression because that doesn't just affect you specifically. Oftentimes that is an app-wide problem.
Or like when you post a new video and you get the notice that it's being held for review, that's not a shadow ban, that's hold for review.
Right. Yeah. Like for the last week, I know a lot of people have been complaining that everything that they're posting is being held for review. You're not alone. It's like 90% of the TikTok population is experiencing that right now. Don't quote me on that number. I just threw that out.
Right. And it's not a shadow ban if there is a UI element that tells you it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Where were we? Saying bad things?
I think at this point we pretty much come around to what are we doing as an organization? How do we move forward with this? How do we take the energy that Hank has stirred up and use it to mobilize action?
Yeah. I mean, I think the first so like the baseline things that people can do is you can absolutely harass TikTok on every platform that exists. TikTok does not control the platforms it does not control. So getting as much noise around, I believe the hashtag that people are using is TikTok accountability, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Getting enough noise around that hashtag and getting things sort of piled in there and getting like the problems that we see that are like very specific, the stuff around systemic issues in the platform. Don't get into individual stuff. I am begging you all to talk about the systemic issues that you see, the broader issues. Talk about your pay, talk about your friends' pay if they are okay with that. Pass on our survey, please, because the more data we have, the better.
In fact, if you have a Twitter, tweet out the link.
Just tweet it out there. Put it out there for the world to see. If you are someone who is in any way a freelance writer or a journalist, I would encourage you to pitch this story to as many people as you can.
We will 100% give you an interview.
Yeah.
I will give you so many charts. I pulled so many charts today. I have data. I love when I have data. Please take it. Yeah, I cannot, if you have friends that are journalists, that are writers, that are not on TikTok, that maybe this is not their normal beat, tell them what's going on, because this is more than just an internet story. The future of labor is largely freelance labor. It's the fucking gig economy, and this is a gig economy story. This is not just some weird niche internet thing. This is a much, much bigger deal. Because I know you have to sell shit to editors who don't know what TikTok is and have never been on it, and I get it. But I cannot.
Yeah, but you can build this as a pay equity story, and that's a lot easier to sell to an editor.
So easy.
I mean, Hank was not wrong that the slogan writes itself. When TikTok makes more, creators make less.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, it would be fun just to see how many times we can get that headline to appear in a publication.
And the good news is the news stories are breaking. Again, this is the kind of thing that's going to depend upon a groundswell of people talking about it for it to actually break into anyone's sphere of interest. So sharing news stories about it, sharing Hank's video, sharing our survey, talking about your own experiences. I know it doesn't seem like it's like the most valuable, important thing. It actually is, because this is not about each of us individually. It's about all of us collectively. All of this is about all of us collectively.
It's like we're a union and we care about the collective rights.
The other thing is if you follow big creators that don't seem to be talking about this in some way, letting them know in the comments of their video, like, hey, like, ask them a question. Ask them if they've seen Hank's video.
I do also want to say, just because this is such an experience on TikTok, before you leave that comment, if you haven't checked their profile lately, do check and see whether you just haven't seen their video about it.
Yeah.
Or like, look in the comment section, and if like 8 people have already tagged Hank, maybe just like that comment. You don't need to be like harassing the person with Hank.
You can You can do the thing where you just do a bunch of up arrows and comment underneath it to boost that comment up. Good job. I really cannot emphasize enough that the biggest deal is just getting as many people aware as humanly possible.
And as for what you can be doing to look out for your own interests as a creator, do start uploading to YouTube and Reels. Upload all of your content to YouTube and Reels.
I know you're right.
They both suck. They're bad platforms for short form video. They're no fun. You don't have to use YouTube Shorts or Reels, but start posting your content on YouTube Shorts and Reels. Hank made a video on Monday, sort of just continuing to expand on some of the ideas. One of the things he talked about is that SciShow's TikTok, like they're working really hard to try and make SciShow's TikTok, like SciShow, a viable like TikTok property, and it's not. And all of their TikToks get published to Shorts and Reels to make money, and then they get published on TikTok to reach the overwhelming majority of the audience they're going to reach. But like YouTube and Instagram are where the SciShow TikTok account is making its money.
So this is not true. The bar to the Creator Fund is still 10,000 followers. It used to be 100,000 views in March. They lowered it to 10,000 views. So it's 10,000 followers and 10,000 monthly views. It's actually a very low bar, wildly enough. But the reason that you should care as someone who is not in the fund is that you are part of a community and you need to support your community. I will be really blunt about this and not particularly nice. If you are not interested in the welfare of the people that you are making content with and about and around, I don't really want you in my community. The whole point of being here is that, unfortunately, we all got on this app that wasn't supposed to be a social media app, and now we're using it like one, and we have these huge networks, and we're all bouncing ideas off of each other constantly, and we're all in this sort of like collective storytelling or collective educational or just collective nonsense movement together. You take care of your community. I cannot emphasize that enough. You take care of your community.
And to be
no collective action has ever succeeded with only the backing of the people directly affected by the specific issue.
Correct.
Like, to be perfectly blunt, like I think the smallest following of everybody in the admin for TOCA. Like I have well under 4,000. It still matters to me, because if they're treating the people who are bringing in the people who may eventually view my content this poorly, I'm not going to get treated any better. In fact, I'm worth nothing to them. I don't make them money.
So and that's not to mention the fact that this is setting precedents for other platforms.
Exactly.
Like this is what the ecosystem of online, like this will shape the future of online media and like how online content creators get paid. It will have effects in the larger gig economy. It will have effects on jobs that you do not yet know you're going to have to deal with. Every one of these victories matters. Every one of these fights matters.
Yeah, this is also correct. If I want good content, I want creators that have the time to make it.
Yeah.
If you consume art and you consume these things all day, you really can't rely on just like one funny teenager taking one random video like on every hour on the hour somewhere in the country. No. TikTok is such a good parasocial relationship builder, and I mean that like affectionately and also not. But part of the beauty of it is that it's just a bunch of people in their apartments sharing these little bits and pieces of their lives. And we are so privileged to get to be let into these people's lives every single day and like have a baseline, like caring relationship about someone that you might not even know. It builds empathy. It's good for you. And it feels nice to just like see that person do well. instead of constantly struggling.
And this kind of solidarity is what we're going to need for every battle coming for us as people living in a society that is trying to kill all of us.
Yeah.
Not to be, think about it, but yeah.
Happy 8:50 p.m. We are almost an hour into the stream, and we've hit the point where we're like, we are living in a society that's trying to kill us, and we have to stick together.
Yeah, if you have literally no other reason to feel like you should fight for the rights of content creators, think of it as solidarity practice, because it's the fight that happens to be happening next to you right now.
Yep. And the past couple of years, but like especially from the beginning of the pandemic onward, the sheer number of strikes that have occurred, the sheer number of people organizing and actually doing the work, we are seeing a resurgence of organized labor, and we have to decide if we are on the side of corporations or on the side of labor. And I think everyone here is probably on the side of labor. But that means you have to stand with labor at every single battle.
Mm-hmm.
We all need each other. Ugh. Isn't existence a fun prison that we're all in?
I would like to pitch my idea that we should all get a week vacation from being human again. I just want a week where I can be a cat and not have to worry about any of these things.
Because here's the thing, because that's how I phrased my 30th birthday vacation. I took a week off from work. Nick took care of everything. I didn't do anything. I was not a person. I said, I don't want to be a fucking person for a week. And do you know what happened? Like 20 days later, I was quarantined. Do you like the universe was like, oh, you want to stay home? Stay home forever.
No, that's why I specifically would like to just be a cat for a week. A cat that lives in a very fancy house with the good wet food and just sleep in sunbeams for a full week.
I considered making my weekend plans getting snowed in at my friend's apartment in Boston, because being stuck in Boston for like 3 days with a dear friend would be a ton of fun. It would also be so emotionally draining that I would be checked out for the next 2 weeks. And I have decided that like the thing that I need to be doing right now is not fully flaming out and just being done for half a month. What I need to be doing is like accepting that where I'm at is like barely holding it together and start working on putting the pieces back in place.
I mean, I guess that's
in my city.
You guys are both talking and I did not hear what either of you are saying.
You're fine. It's fine. Do we have anything else we really want to like address?
Just,
we're so drained.
I think just again, stressing that one of the easy courses of action that you can take right now is the link to that survey. Push it out in any way that you can. And then if you would like to support the work that we're doing monetarily, you can also find us on Patreon. We would love the support, but also it allows us to do this kind of research and actually pay people to do it rather than, the rest of us just doing it for free.
Be hard keying in 150 entries worth of various demographic information.
It's fine.
And if you aren't already in our Discord, I just dropped a link in chat. You can join us there. If you have at least 1,000 followers on TikTok, you can join as a comrade and get access to the creator-only spaces where we've been talking about all of the shit that's been going down on TikTok all the time, including some stuff that we didn't bring up in the stream because there are details that we're just not publishing publicly right now.
Not yet. The other thing I want to note before we actually do sign off is that we are expecting possible funny behavior from the app, and we've been seeing some funny behavior from the app. People have been catching bans that look like permanent bans, but their account is still up and people can still like interact with all their content, and then suddenly their accounts are stored and they're fine. It's been very strange. There's been a lot of bugs. If you go to our website, we have an entire page of just like report forms of various kinds. If it looks like suppression is high, we have a form for that. If you find a bug, we have a form for that. The bug report form is particularly important to me because I would like to figure out when they're doing like monthly maintenance that screws us up. And if we can get sort of clusters of bugs at certain times, we can start telling people like, hey, it seems like this is roughly the time of month that they go through some kind of maintenance period, and sorry, things are going to be weird. And if the heads up would be nice.
Yeah. But also, if you find that your follower count is like bouncing up and down by 1 or 2 routinely, they are doing a bot clean out. I know because I physically watched it happen. A real person followed me, and one of the bots that had recently followed me dropped off.
Yeah.
I saw it in real time. I was like, all right, I feel better. I know what this is.
But also, people sometimes do decide to unfollow people, and that has to be a thing that you're okay with as a creator. Like, sometimes that's going to be what's happening. Like, sometimes people go through their lists and just unfollow everybody that they don't want to see anymore. And not everybody is going to want to keep seeing your content. That has to be okay.
Yeah.
I do want to say, is it an unusually high rate? No, I don't think it is anymore. It's those like first 2 weeks in January where like suddenly you're like, I have 500 less followers. What happened there? Oh, they finally cleaned out the bots.
Yeah,
I've been seeing less of the sexy lady bots, and then we went through the sexy man bots, and I'm seeing less of them, but I'm still getting a lot of crypto bro bots, which is deeply frustrating.
I only get the sexy lady bots.
Why do you get the sexy lady bots and I don't?
I am a big fat queer, all right?
I did also have a day earlier this month where my following count dropped down by like 1,500, and then just popped back up in a couple hours. I think we have also been seeing some follower count display glitches.
Yeah. I have been seeing that like that stupid glitch where you go to someone's page that you follow and it doesn't tell you that you follow them, and then you go check your following list and you still follow them, and then you go back and it's fixed.
Yeah.
That's just a display issue. Make sure if you see someone and you're very sure that you follow them, like 100% sure, go back.
Kelly, this is usually harassment. I would recommend reporting and blocking those people.
Yeah, that's imitate. You gotta report them.
Yeah,
they haven't been. I'm not gonna lie. TikTok has not been doing great with the reporting comments for bots lately.
So the other thing that's been happening is there's been a lot of DM scams, specifically in the tarot reading community. Here is my suggestion for that, because I tried it and it actually had some success this time. Because if you try to report them as being another person, you can't, because if it's not you or a celebrity, they don't do shit about it. If they follow you and then you request to follow them back, they will immediately send you a DM with like, click this link, blah, 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 blah. Report the DM as a scam, because you can actually click the individual messages and report that.
Smart. There is also there's also a scam going on in the marketplace right now. There is a creator that is essentially imitating TikTok. By the way, the marketplace is not well regulated, if at all. I feel like they just opened it and they were like, "Oh, this is complicated. Peace out. Bye." I don't know what's going on.
We literally made an account with as many red flags as we could come up with to apply for the creator fund and got in.
I can't tell you what it was because I need to keep that account just in case. But let's just say I didn't even put a real first name or last name. But there's a scam going on. It is pretending to be TikTok, telling creators that TikTok is rolling out a new feature and they want you to promote it. It's a lie. do not fall for it. They're like getting people to post the content and they're just never sending them the money.
Yeah.
They primarily want to communicate on WhatsApp. That is always a bad sign. Do not do that. The email they provide seems to be fake. So they're only going for the people that fall for the WhatsApp thing. So just spread that far and wide. No legitimate advertiser is talking to you over WhatsApp. Anyway.
Thanks everybody so much for coming. Have a great night. We will see you on Monday.
Yeah.